Consequence Podcast Network.
This episode brought to you by Nick B.
Nick B, fun fact, he lost his internet for a really long time.
I don't know what I'd do if I lost internet. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Did you guys lose power the other night?
No, I did not.
I lost internet for 2 days.
Yeah, we lost power for about 12 hours, including internet and phone. Well, hey, Nick B, how'd you handle your internet outages?
Oh, yeah. Did you lose your mind like I would have?
I know. Hey, we're so glad you're back, though. Also, what happened?
I think it was Brexit.
That was Internexit.
Yeah.
This episode also brought to you by Ryan.
Hey, Ryan. So I have been kind of changing this around a little bit because I was just feeling really negative. I have my little plants that I keep talking about, Spike and Fern, on my desk, and they're really cool, and my coworkers gave them to me, and I'm really happy. So thank you, Ryan, for giving me these awesome plants and helping me not kill them, because I do that a lot. Ryan, you're awesome.
I'm starting to think that Ryan is the person you work with.
There was a long period of time where I thought Ryan was just Mikey.
I know, man.
This episode also brought to you by
Matt's. Hey, Matt.
Sweden is home to the famous ice hotel in the village of, oh God, there's no way how to say this right. I wish I had pre-read this. Guys, here's my best attempt. Junkasvarvaga. I'm so sorry, Matt. I'm so sorry. It's Jukkasj, A with 2 dots above it, RVI. So good luck, nerds. The hotel is crafted each year from 2-ton blocks of ice from nearby Torn River. Starting from scratch, the hotel starts to take place as soon as the cold season arrives in the Arctic. Builders and artists alike work to create a hotel that's very unique every time. If you worry about health and safety while you're at the ice hotel, fear not. The fire marshal, or their equivalent of the fire marshal, still requires that fire alarms be inserted inside every room of the hotel.
Hey, look, Flamecopter has to stay somewhere.
But it's a big block of ice. Do you think that a big block of ice can catch on fire?
Anything can catch on fire if you try hard enough.
What did we learn last time? That the blue flame is cold?
Only blue flames at this ice hotel. Join us now for another episode of The Patreonicals.
Now that I have free time, this is going to go well. Matthew just ate people, and Isaac's trying to make him a cannibal.
Right.
But Matthew starts crying because he realized he doesn't like eating people, and like this isn't him. He doesn't know who he is yet, but he knows that it's not him to eat people.
Not like this.
So Isaac kicks him a bunch and tells him he's released all his anger, but not for him.
Not for you.
Isaac says, I will make you pay for the death of my brother. And he sends him down to the torture basement where Mickey Mac lives with.
Hey, Mickey Mac.
Matthew gets down to the torture basement where Mickey Mac is the chief torturer.
And now has a friend koala.
And the koala, and he's like carrying him like a baby.
He's got a koala Bjorn.
Yeah. Yeah. And like they're just staring at Matthew. And then like Mickey Mac sheds a single tear because he can't torture anymore, and he's like trying to, but he can't, and like he's changing, and
his heart's not in it. I get
his heart is just not in it. He doesn't know what to do anymore.
Who is he now if he can't torture people?
Exactly. Mickey Mac is having an existential crisis, but he's made a new best friend. So
there's a little bit of good there.
All it took was the love of a koala.
Oh, that is often what it takes.
Isaac says he wants Mickey Mac to make Matthew feel so much pain, and Mickey Mac's like, "You got it, boss." But then he like starts crying or whatever.
Winky blinky, but with tears.
He takes his koala outside to chop some wood because he has to deal with these feelings. Then we cut back to the giant battle.
I thought they were escaping from the giant battle already.
Hold your questions.
Noted.
Eddie is leading a bunch of rhinos into a bunch of Mad Max war rigs. But Eddie also has a bunch of dune buggies with his people, but it's mostly rhinos. And they start crashing into each other. Michael is leading the Thunderdome side of things, but Tristram decides to be a hero. And he crashes his dune buggy into the biggest war rig, which is Michael's, who's leading the whole thing. There's a huge crash, and both of them, everybody crashes all down there. And then Michael lives. He gets out.
Oh, good.
Well, then he stabs, and then the everyone's like, so many people are dying on both sides. It's like there's like basically no winners. But Michael sees Tristram where he crashed into him, and he stabs Tristram in the heart with his fencing swords, and Tristram dies.
Wait. Hang on one second.
Michael has some ideas what to do with the body and takes it back to Thunderdomington. in a hijacked dune buggy. Eddie looks around and there's like a lot of dead rhinoceros and people on both sides and crashed cars. So Eddie is crying and he was like, is this even worth saving Matthew?
Yes.
He decides no, he doesn't think it's worth it anymore.
He disagrees, Jen.
One person isn't worth all this death, Jen.
Wow.
And so he tries to send a message to Kate, but it doesn't get through. But he starts to retreat, and he's got there's still like surviving stuff, rhinoceros and people. So they go back. They decide to build a giant, bigger wall around Mammatopia and live in peace and not worry about Thunderdomington or anything like that.
Well, that was bleak.
I know. So you cut to Kate. She's in Thunderdome.
Okay.
And they're sneaking around trying to rescue Matthew.
Yeah, because Mr. Bubbles is there with like a shotgun and they're trying to like sneak around creepy style.
They're like walking down a market, like a post-apocalyptic market. But Mr. Bubbles, it's like someone pushes him and he gets shotgun crazy, kills 5 dudes.
He gets shotgun crazy, which in 5 dudes, so he had to reload.
Yeah.
They call that premeditated.
Everyone jumps on them, cut to black. They wake up. They're in an actual Thunderdome.
Oh, no.
It's just Mr. Bubbles and Kate.
It's time for justice.
Yeah, the voice says, 2 may enter, 1 may leave.
No.
So it's Kate and Mr. Bubbles? Oh, my God. So will Kate have to kill Mr. Bubbles to make it out alive? What will happen with Tristram's body? Will Matthew decide that he does like the taste of human flesh? Find out next week on another episode of The Patrioticals. This episode finally brought to you by Chris.
Hey, Chris. Chris just wants everyone to know that we see you and you are not alone. We're watching you.
We're under your bed at night.
Oh, wow. Guys, you're not alone
it.
because we're watching you.
I know. I meant to say we see you in like a happy way, but it just like as I was saying it, I was like, oh, that's creepy. Anyways, Chris just wants everyone to know that they are loved and that they are not alone, even though everything's all crazy and fucked up right now. And every day brings more horror.
But not like the kind you can review on a podcast, like the real world, really bad kind.
Yeah, that it's all going to be okay. We're all going to be okay because we have each other. And even though you might feel alone, you're not alone. And we see you and we love you. And we love you too, Chris. Guys, if we play the theme music, it'll just get stronger. We can't talk about the theme music, okay? Shh. Don't. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. There is no theme music.
Shut up, Jen. Shut up.
I really almost hardcore hit on my neighbor last night.
Give me some details about your neighbor, Mikey.
Like, I was walking Macy right outside my front door, and she was the one to deliver a phone charger to her friend.
Is she age appropriate?
Yeah, she's age appropriate.
Okay.
She was like, hey, Mike. And I was like, what up, girl?
Oh, my God.
I was like, you look super cute. And she's like, it's quarantine chic. And I was like,
Wait, did you actually say that?
yeah.
Welcome to the Horror Virgin, everyone. I'm Jen.
Mikey.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. And this week, you guys made me watch the sequel to Paranormal Activity, Paranormal Activity 2.
Yes, that's right.
Or as I call it, the haunting of white privilege.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so Mikey, have you seen this movie before?
Yes.
When did you first see it?
In theaters. I saw it in theaters. Paranormal Activities are super scary in theater. Like,
Yes.
really scary.
They
Yeah,
are.
and we all watched it separately because we're still like quarantining, right? And I watched it at night with my girlfriend in our bedroom. It was terrifying.
Yeah, good for you.
Mikey, that wasn't me highlighting you and saying that I'm not single like you are. I'm so sorry.
I watched it alone
Mikey.
today with
Through my
dog.
tears.
Well, you could always call your neighbor, Mikey. I'm sure she'd want to watch something with you. So how scared were you when you watched it in the theater, Mikey?
It was super scary when I watched it in the theater.
Yeah. So how scared were you when you watched it today in the morning at your apartment?
I was 1/5 scared.
Okay, so I'm going to guess a 1 on the scary
I'm
scale.
interested to
Jen.
unpack that math.
So, Jen, what did you think about it when you first saw it?
I remember going to see this with my brother and my cousin in the theater. I think probably on opening night too, because I
Jesus.
loved the first one. I was really excited about the sequel, so I would have been really excited to go see this.
Me too, Jen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jen, you watched it by yourself in your house. Like, what did you think about it when you saw it most recently?
Well, so I watched it yesterday morning and it was raining and I was by myself, like you just said, I was by myself in my house and they must have been like collecting trash or something because I kept hearing like banging and it really freaked me out. But like I kept hearing noises and it's probably like house noises, like the dryer stops and it makes like a noise. But I kept hearing it and I was like, holy shit, there's somebody in my house. What the fuck is going on? So it did freak me out.
I had a similar experience when we were watching it because we have a lot of cats that live with Natalie and I, and we were in the bedroom watching it, and like sort of right after the first few jump scares that aren't really jump scares, like they're like subtle things that you're like, oh my God, like a door opening slightly or the mobile starting to spin or whatever. So it's like just amping up the creepy. One of our cats attacked another one of our cats and knocked over their feeder, and it scared the shit out of me. And I was like, Natalie, go check and see what that was.
Yeah. Yeah, like this franchise is what made Corey not want to watch scary movies for like 5 years.
I get that completely. I don't want to watch this. And I said many times while we were watching this, I hate this movie. I hate this movie. I hate this movie. But mainly because I was so scared. It's not that it's a bad movie. We can talk about that later on. I don't necessarily think that. It's just super scary, and I hate being scared.
When I think about the type of scary this movie is too, it's all mostly jump scare. Although I do think like the backstory of what this is interesting and kind of creepy, but like I don't.
You certainly get more of that than you did in Paranormal Activity 1.
You do. And I've got some thoughts about that we'll get into, but like I don't really take this with me, you know, like I'm not still thinking about it and still scared, you know.
I wish I could not take this with me. Like that, I literally slept with the lights on last night. Like
really?
I could not, and I was making sure my feet were under the covers and and then we have 2 dogs that sleep in the bed with us, and if any one of them moved, I was like, bah! You know, it was I was terrified. I wish it didn't stick with me like it does. Let's get into this fucking movie, Jen.
All right, so we start with producers thanking the families of the deceased and the police of Carlsbad, California.
Carlsbad, California is just north of San Diego. In fact, it's still in San Diego County. Yeah, it's San Diego.
We have a new family, kind of, and we have someone bringing a new baby home, baby Hunter, and he's just coming home from the hospital, and there's
he's like a legit little baby.
He is.
Yeah, so, okay, here's where I got confused a little bit.
Because it jumps forward like a year and a half and doesn't tell you.
It doesn't tell me. I was like, Hunter looks fucking huge.
Yeah, well, he looks like a baby, and then it automatically, you know, they just jump cut. They don't tell you time passes, right? So they jump cut, and now Hunter is...
Yeah, he's like a toddler.
I don't know, 18 months old? Yeah. He's probably almost 2 years old. And
he can walk. He can walk. I mean, he's walking around the house.
Yeah, like by himself. And you're like, I guess they have 2 sons, but they don't. It's just a jump in time. I thought that too, though, Mikey, 100%.
Well, I like that because, like, if these were home movies that they're taking on their recorder, like, they don't, like, put in, like, hey, it's been a year later since our last recording. You know what I mean? They're just, like, pushing record.
It's supposed to be a produced documentary about this dead family, so they
could put it on the screen.
But they said in the clip, like, oh, I can't believe it's been a year. Also, like, how long did it take you to figure that out? Probably like 10 seconds.
All right, Jen, that's
we don't have to. Yeah, we don't have to dig it. That's not fair. We don't have to dig into that.
Anyways, so they're bringing them home, and we find out that we've got Christy, who is the mom, and I love how she said, oh, yeah, I was the one who was in labor for a full day, Dad. You didn't do any work.
I think the dad actually does a good job of sort of saying, yeah, I didn't really do anything.
Right. Oh, yeah, I do think he's being sarcastic, but I just thought that was a fun
He's definitely a better guy than Micah, but, like, not by much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell that they have the same level of what it is to be a man, but he is just slightly better. Yeah.
And I think part of that is because he's older, you know?
Yeah, and Micah, honestly, is the worst.
Yeah. He's not great.
This dad is not much better.
I don't know. I got some thoughts on him. He doesn't actively piss me off.
I think he fundamentally does not understand what Wynn's capabilities are. But other than that, he's an all right dude.
I saw a YouTube video and it showed me that Wynn could do anything.
Yeah. Wynn from inside our house, too. Okay, anyways. So they're taking and we're getting introduced to everyone. So we've got Martine, and then we've got Allie, who is the stepsister. And who's the daughter of Daniel. And we also notice Daniel, I would say, is probably about 10 years older than Christy, maybe a little older.
Yeah, I was going to say 7 to 12.
But so we're meeting all of the cast. Did we talk about the nanny Martine?
The nanny Martine is honestly, she's like a stereotypical nanny from Southern California, which is not great. But she is sort of like a hero in this movie, which is cool.
She is. And it seems like, so basically what we're finding, I think this family is just a happy kind of, there's a good dynamic in this family. You know,
I don't get a weird vibe from any of it. They seem like a happy married couple. Yeah. And it's sort of a mine, yours, and ours situation. situation. Although Christy didn't have kids from a previous relationship, the
Right.
husband did. But they get along. Like the teenage daughter really likes the stepmom, which is not a normal dynamic that you see in real life or in movies.
Right. And I really liked that because it
Yeah, that
makes
was cool.
the ghost stuff stand out, you know?
Yeah.
And so then we hear a doorbell and surprise, it's Katie from the first movie. And we find
Right.
out
Oh,
that
my heart.
Katie is, Mikey's crash. We find out that Katie is Christy's sister.
Yes. So it's like extended family from the first movie.
And there's a scene where she's holding the new baby Hunter and he's just giving her this weird stare, which if you've ever seen newborns, like that's just what they do. But after having seen this movie before, I was looking at this, I was like, what do you know, Hunter?
I mean, the baby knows nothing. That's the problem. That's why he's like, oh my God, there are more people in the world.
You look like my mommy, but you're not my mommy.
Until it cuts a year and a half later and Hunter's smoking a cigarette.
He's like,
Walking down the hallway and he's like, this house is all fucked up.
It's definitely haunted.
It's just me and the dog. No one listens to us.
But there is a moment where they're in the pool and Katie is saying, she's calling herself the evil aunt. And she's saying, I'm not really evil, but I can be evil sometimes, which I think is a funny little nod to the last movie.
Yeah. And what happens in a few months, chronologically speaking.
Yeah, because what we'll find out is this is 2 months before the events of the first movie. And we probably can talk about this a little later, but I love how they set this whole thing up in the timeline. I think it's really well done for a sequel.
Would you call it a sequel? I would call this a prequel.
It is technically a prequel and a sequel.
Yeah, because the end is after the end of the first movie.
Okay. I got you. That's fair.
So it's been a year since we talked about the first scene of the movie.
And it's been a year for Hunter. Sorry. Go
And
on.
it has. So now we have we get like a little clip of the of like a birthday party or something. And now we see the same house that we've already had the tour of has been trashed.
First off, this is a big ass house.
Yeah, it's a nice house.
I kind of like it better than the first house.
Oh, do you? Do you like it?
It looks more lived in. I like the style of it better.
Oh my God, Mikey.
It's definitely something more of a house I would pick.
Mikey, you can just say it has a pool. Yeah, we get it, Mikey.
I do. I like this house a lot. The only thing I don't like about this house is that glass table in the kitchen with the weird.
Oh, you
70s
can replace that,
chairs.
Jen. We're not gonna keep that glass table.
The only thing I don't really like about the house is that it's fucking haunted and it needs to get burned to the ground. Other than that,
People
it's
are
fine.
haunted, Todd.
Yeah.
So tired of
It's not the house's
explaining
fault.
this to you.
I
It's like
refuse
this-
to believe it.
That those two girls are haunted.
He's haunt-splaining, Todd.
So yeah, they think there's been a break-in, right? So they're like, oh my God, they didn't take anything, or did they? Let's check and make sure, right? So they're
Yeah.
like looking around for that stuff.
Yeah, and like the TV is cracked, like everything, like couches are flipped over. It's like fucking destroyed, but there's nothing missing. And she's going through her
Right.
jewelry, and she says the only thing missing is the necklace that her sister Katie made for her, which is interesting because we see Katie making jewelry in the first movie. So that was a nice little connection.
Yeah,
yeah.
and also it clearly points the finger at Micah.
At Mika, yeah, true.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely broke in to steal that necklace. Yeah.
Was that him in the pool later on?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, he's in this movie. So speaking of Hunter's room, though, that is the only thing that was not touched. Like that room still looks great.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is nice because that would really freak me out if somebody messed with my kids' rooms. Although the whole thing would freak me out, but just, I don't know, something
Yeah,
about...
I mean, it's still a very, like, horrible thing to be a part of.
And so now they go down into the basement and we see a bunch of what looks like pee on the floor, which may have been Abby the dog, although I do think they're blaming Abby for something she did not do. And that seems to be where a lot of the like haunting stuff is originating. So I wonder, but
Yeah.
they never really expand on that too much.
No, but they really focus on whose bikes are still left. Yeah,
Right.
that's a really
Right,
important
because-
question to answer while you're in this really dirty basement. Like, it's really jam-packed with shit.
Right.
I totally would not have gone down there to see if anything was stolen.
No,
You wouldn't have gone down where you keep all your stuff to see what was stolen?
I wouldn't have at this point because it's clear that Micah broke it.
I think Micah and Hunter,
Yeah.
they're a little tag team.
It was an inside job, but Micah was the one that initiated it.
Right.
Because he lost the necklace that Katie made him,
It broke.
and he knows that she has one. So he was like, well, I'll just go steal one, but I don't know where she keeps it.
That doesn't sound like Micah valuing anything that Katie does. That doesn't sound
Well,
like Micah to me.
He doesn't. He's not the best boyfriend. But there's
Yeah,
a fun
exactly.
deleted scene where he's wearing that bracelet or that necklace, the beaded necklace she made him, and he's like twirling it around because he's really excited, and it breaks and the beads scatter everywhere. And then Hunter Hunter happens to walk into the kitchen at that exact moment, and they both slip on banana peels, like going in opposite directions.
I like how they didn't slip on the beads. That's the misdirection, Mikey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What you pan out to see is that there are like a Sideshow Bob level of banana peels all over this kitchen on the floor.
Oh my God.
I mean, it was really funny, but they didn't feel like it fit with the overall tone of the movie, so they cut it.
I mean, that does not surprise me too much. Yeah.
Okay, so now Dad is getting security camera or surveillance cameras put in, and I like that they explain the use of these cameras.
I liked it too.
It's definitely a good framing.
It is, yeah, and I think one of the things that I like better about the second movie than the first is the use of all the different cameras and how you pan through the house, you know? And I mean, I'm not faulting the first movie, but like we get the handheld from the first movie and we get to see a lot more action. They end up getting like 6 cameras, I think.
I think it's super realistic. You know, you had a break in. You want to catch whoever's doing it if it happens again. So,
and
boom.
you've got the money to do it.
Yeah,
you know?
right?
Yeah, super rich.
Yeah, because, you know, your, I guess, great-grandmother made a deal with the devil in the 1930s.
Yeah, and Doug owns a Burger King franchise, I think.
Oh, does he?
I think so.
Here's where the movie falls apart because their great-grandmother made a deal for wealth, but Katie and what's the other girl's name?
Are not wealthy?
Are not wealthy.
Why do you think they're not wealthy?
Because it's Micah and the current coin purse place that get him that house.
Okay, yes, I agree. But that doesn't mean that they also aren't wealthy. Like, we don't see any evidence that they don't have money
That's
themselves.
true. Katie definitely does have a House Hunters-esque. She's like, I'm a homemade jewelry maker. Our budget's $3.4 million.
Yeah. And Micah owns coinpurse.com. Budget $17 million.
Anyways, we got a camera on the front door. We got seeing like the walk up to the house. We've got a camera over the pool. We've got one in the living room. We've got one in the kitchen. And we've got one in Hunter's room. And then we are going to see some handheld cameras, one with night vision, but they're not really in play yet.
And there's one in the foyer.
Yes, there is one that we can see the front door.
Yeah,
and
so
then
it
one
covers
where
the
we can
steps.
see
Yeah.
outside of the house. Yeah, so
My
that's
favorite
the second
camera
one.
is the pool camera because all the rest of them are really scary, and then they intermittently cut to the pool, which is like the least scary cut of every
know.
movie.
I swear, man, that pool vacuum got more screen time than the boyfriend. It did.
I think it did.
Like 100%. That pool vacuum is by itself on screen for easy 4.5, 5 minutes, and the boyfriend's in 2 scenes.
I mean, they're like there's like doors slamming, pods falling, pool self-cleaning.
It did freak me out though because I kept seeing it move, you know, and I was like, oh shit. But one of the things I think is great is like when you're doing a found footage movie like this, you're looking like at every corner of the screen and you're trying to figure out what's moving, what's like, which I love about found footage.
Oh, I hate it.
So then we see night 1 and there's nothing happening. But this is when we kind of just get an establishing shot of what these screens are supposed to be showing.
What I like about this series, it's like it's not like The Conjuring, like these are like obviously haunted houses or whatever. But like this series, it's like it's just suburbia. It's like anybody's house, which I think is a scarier aspect.
Because it's not the house, it's the people.
It's the people, Todd.
No, I mean, I get it, but why would you not try and run like with the child at some point? And just get away. Like, no one ever tries to get away. And I understand that, like, they would still be haunted, but run away from where the demon is, at least right now. That's like saying someone who walks in your house with a gun, you're like, well, I can't solve the situation by burning it down, so I'm going to stand here and wait for them to shoot me.
Right.
Like, it makes no sense that they take no action to stop this from happening.
No, the dad should have burned the wife and he would have saved both of his kids.
No.
That's how it works in Hereditary, right? So the next day we see Abby the dog scratching at the basement, and then we see Hunter like crawling up the stairs, and he's super cute.
Yeah, he's a cute little kid.
The dog and the baby in this movie are like really great performances from dogs and babies, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know how long it took them to get all of that stuff, but they are great.
Yeah, I love that every time the baby's sleeping, the dog is like in that room protecting Hunter. I thought that
Standing
was
guard.
awesome. Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I like that dog. And then we see Martine, and she is, remember, the live-in. I guess she's like a live-in housekeeper because she seems to be doing a lot more than just being a nanny.
Yeah, and when she gets fired, spoiler alert, he like takes a suitcase out with him. So like I do think she was like living in their guest house or whatever.
Right.
This family's so stupid rich.
Yeah, they're definitely Mikey level rich.
I didn't even have a maid.
Where's my driver? All right, so Martine and Allie are talking, and we see that they get along very well, and it's really sweet.
Yes.
But she's talking about blessing the house, and she's speaking in Spanish, and they're kind of communicating with each other. And she's saying she's trying to get rid of bad spirits and bring in the good spirits. And we don't, like, they have clearly been in this house for a while. So it's not like this house has always had bad spirits, but they don't really go into that too much. We just notice her blessing the house, and we are led to believe that this is kind of a new thing.
But the dad was like, I've caught her doing this stuff before. So I think she's blessed the house before.
Yeah. And I mean, if that's a part of your beliefs or your religion, you might just do that whenever you are in a new space, you know?
Yeah, and that could be true, but also I get the impression that Martine is relatively new here because the stepdaughter would not have needed a nanny like that. Maybe she's also like a maid on some level, so
I think she was just live-in help. Yeah,
so she may have been there before, but I got the impression that she was new-ish with the baby. Like she had been there a year, just like Hunter had been there a year, a little over a year.
But when he fires her, he's like, "I'm tired of this. I'm so sick. You know, I don't."
We've
believe
talked
in
about
any
it
of this."
before.
We've talked about this before.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. So I don't really know, but in my head canon, as Mikey would say, that's like how I thought of it. You're right, Mikey. She may have just been live-in help.
So now we see Christy playing with the baby, and then somebody screams, and it's because of a clogged up toilet. And this kind of annoyed me because it's like that spider moment in the first movie where we think it's a ghost, but it's just like somebody.
Yeah, it's the stepdaughter. Yeah, after she coils off some cable.
Torques and cable.
Yeah, after she torques out some cable. That's what it was, Mikey. That's right.
And tries to blame it on somebody else. And I think maybe that's just to kind of keep something interesting happening in the first part of this movie because like it ramps up towards the end a lot. But the first part of this movie, it doesn't really do that much, you know? So now we're grilling again.
Yeah, I mean, they're just living their life, like their super privileged life where they have friends over and they go swimming. And, you know, the dad is like wrestling the pool vacuum, which he doesn't know is haunted and he should not be doing. So, yeah, and we're getting like Micah and Katie coming over and they're talking and all of that stuff.
The dad, Christy and the dad are going out for a date. And then the next morning, Mika, they spent the night as babysitters so that her sister could have a night out, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's great.
But so we do see Mika there and they're hugging and we get like info on the screen that it was 60 days before he dies.
Right.
So now we have introduced a Mika clock.
Yeah, we have a ticking Mika clock.
A ticking Mika clock.
Which incidentally is also my favorite Pokemon character.
What element is he? Because I'm learning a lot about Pokemon these days.
He's a element of douche.
He's a douche element. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. He just throws coins at you from his giant coin purse. This is where I think we talk about how the dad owns like a Burger King location or something.
Or a franchise, maybe. Yeah.
I went, but he's talking about like, hey, I went to Burger King and they didn't give me free food because like,
Oh, yeah, that's Micah being a douche again. Yeah.
Right?
And then they say not all Burger Kings are like the same. Like we don't own all Burger Kings, right?
And I do think that he's kidding. Like I don't think he seriously walked up to Burger King and was like, "Hey, I know the owner, give me all the Big Macs."
But you don't know because it's Micah.
Yeah, I was about to say, do you not think that that's at least a possibility?
He might be kidding, but everybody hates his humor, so they're just like, okay, Micah,
yeah.
They don't like Thanksgivings.
This is when Daniel the dad is showing him his camera. So I think this is like planting the seeds for when Mika's going to.
Oh, it definitely is because they don't have one yet. And Micah is talking about, ooh, I love the features on this. And this is when Micah takes the camera and is like talking to Katie through the camera, a lot like the first movie. And it's when they're in the pool. Yeah. And I'm sure Mikey really liked this part of the movie.
I would never.
I just mean, you know, you have a little bit of crush on Katie.
He's a swim enthusiast. Okay.
Yeah, and he might say he's a swim fan. He does love her brown eyes.
Katie, she has hazel or blue eyes, first off.
Yeah.
And they're green or blue, and they think they go in between.
Mikey, you got to look up where her eyes are to answer that question correctly, not where her boobs are boobing.
She makes it hard to look up in this movie. I will tell you that.
Oh my God, Mikey.
That's not my fault. That's not my fault. I do. She has really pretty eyes.
Anyways, okay, so now they're playing with Hunter and talking about how he can open doors and talking about the break-in. And Christy is saying it feels like there's somebody still here. It felt like it was personal, and it feels like whoever broke in is always here. And she gets this feeling like when she was little. And that's really all we say about that.
Right, but Katie and her definitely know what that means.
Yes, and we'll find out more about it, but it's just, I like how they kind of start weaving this in.
Yeah.
So now Chrissy's playing with Hunter and feeding him, and then she hears a noise, and she goes investigates. And we don't really see anything happen at this point, but we do hear some noise. And then we see it's now night 3 and Hunter is standing up in his crib, just chilling and waving at something in the corner or the window that we can't see.
These are the creepiest scenes.
I know. I agree. The stuff with the baby, like I fucking hate.
Oh my God.
I'm just like on edge the whole time.
There was this moment when my daughter was like around 1 or 2, and I went in and her lamp had gone out because I think the light just died. But she was like crying and upset, and I was trying to like comfort her. And then I asked her what was wrong, and she just looked at me and she pointed to the corner ceiling. And it freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah. Did you leave the room?
Yeah, and then we burned the house down.
You should have. And listen, collect the insurance money, and that's how you ended up with the beautiful house you have today.
Exactly.
Listen,
yeah.
it's a win-win, Mikey.
It was the birth of the Podloff.
And has she been haunted since then?
Not that I know of.
Mikey,
although
it's foolproof. It's the best.
So the next day, we noticed that the pool cleaner robot,
which looks like a ladybug.
Yes, it does.
It does. It's a really cute vacuum cleaner. Yeah, I agree,
They spend a lot of time on this movie on this pool cleaner.
They do. It has a lot of screen time. I'm not even joking. I literally mentioned that many times to Natalie while we were watching it.
I like it. It's like a delightful little character. You know, it's like, it reminds me of DJ Roomba from Parks and Rec, you know?
I honestly thought it was a little BB-8.
Yeah.
This is definitely the R2-D2 of the Paranormal Activity franchise.
It
keeps getting out of the pool at night to warn the family.
That's what it is. It's just trying to save them. It's not haunted. It's helpful.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Dan changes all the settings.
And now it's set to jump?
Right. So now they're looking at childhood pictures, and we see this picture of Katie, and it's the picture that we saw in the first movie that was burned in the attic. And she's I don't know how the fuck this got here.
Yeah.
So we see this, and it's not burned. Oh, did you not catch that?
You didn't catch that,
No.
Mikey? Oh, okay.
So when they put it back on them, the picture appeared at their house.
Right. So, Jen, let me just say this. I'm noticing a pattern with Mikey. Any scene that Katie's in, he doesn't really remember what happens because he was so stunned by her beautiful brown eyes. He couldn't handle it.
I hope she tweets me back.
But a scene with a pool cleaner, he can tell you minute by minute what happened.
Oh, yeah.
Like what quadrant of the pool it was in.
If PBB8's on screen, he knows what happened. PBB8 is pool BB8 for the record.
I hope Katie tweets me back, man.
Honestly, it could be the beginning of a beautiful romance.
Yeah, it's definitely how that's going to turn out.
Oh my God.
So, but we see this picture and it's not burned yet. It just looks like a normal picture. So now we've introduced a picture clock into the movie.
Now, we have 2 consecutive clocks. We have a picture clock and a Mika clock.
This is not the definition of a
And
clock.
they're synchronized by BB-8. That's his function in the movie.
PB8, guys.
PB8, sorry.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay.
Okay, listeners, it really does just cut back to the pool in between every
Mikey,
scene of the
100%.
movie.
I want a PB8 count. And not just how many times PB8 appears. I want minutes on screen because it's not seconds. It is minutes on screen. And then I want to compare that to the boyfriend who actually gets credit for this movie. And he is on screen less than PB8. And the fact that PB8 does not show up in the IMDb is a travesty. I think we need to fight for robot rights. This is ridiculous. We got to make a stand somewhere, guys.
He's credited. He was played by Willem Dafoe.
PB8 was William Dafoe?
Yeah, he made the voice sounds, you know. They overdubbed it a little bit with Jermaine Clement, and they kind of
subtle.
layered them
It's
both
so
so it wouldn't
good.
stand out. And then they had to put all the sound underwater.
Oh, my God.
All right. So we get a nice little fun scene with Martine and Allie and Allie's boyfriend. Martine doesn't really like Allie's boyfriend. But anyways, the parents are going out.
Martine doesn't really like Allie's boyfriend because Martine knows what a 16-year-old boy wants. And we find out later when he's using the Ouija board that what every 16-year-old boy wants is Hunter. I'm sorry, pussy. Sorry, my bad. My bad.
That Ouija board joke with the boyfriend, though, it's fire.
That's a real Mikey joke.
I was hilarious.
I can see you doing that now, Mikey.
Yeah. Good luck on that joke.
I mean, it's funny, Jim. Come on. That was funny.
I mean,
to be in the middle of a really scary movie where no one's really funny, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's what a 16-year-old boy doesn't have subtlety.
Although I will say this, guys, it's clear to me that what really happened is Allie and the boyfriend killed everyone in the family and took the baby because She happened to be on a class trip when the murders went down. Right.
Do we ever see the boyfriend and PBB-8 in scenes together? Do we see them in the same place at the same time?
They were having an affair?
No, I think they're the same people, same person.
Yeah. They do look very similar.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe has a very wide range, guys.
He's very subtle.
Anyway. Okay, anyways. So now Martine is home alone with the baby, and we're hearing banging. And she goes to investigate, and she's hearing it sounds like something is running across the side of the house or something.
Or on the roof or something. Yeah. And the parents are on a date or something, and Allie's with her boyfriend. So it literally is just Martine and the baby who's upstairs.
Yes, yeah. And then we hear a big bang, and Hunter wakes up and starts crying.
Can we talk about how this married couple goes on more dates than single people or people who are just dating?
Mikey, this is just because we're quarantined and you can't go out.
Have you ever met a couple with a toddler go out once a week?
That's fair. Maybe that's fair. But Natalie and I, before quarantine, we would make an effort to go on a date once a week.
When I'm dating someone, I do go on dates a lot.
We live together and we still do that, Mikey.
Yeah, but I mean,
but we don't have a baby. I understand your point. Yeah, we don't have a baby.
They have a live-in nanny, though.
Yeah,
I would go out all the time. You know how many movies I would see if I had a live-in nanny?
She would see movies more than her children's faces.
No.
Oh my God. And they stay out late too. It's 12:30 when they're coming back. What the hell are they doing?
They're trying to get loose, baby.
Well, it's not like Christy has to get up for anything the next day.
Oh, now you're going to shame a stay-at-home mom, Jen?
No.
The work she does in the home, Jen, is valued and valuable, and we should treat her as someone who does valuable work.
She actually outsourced that work to Martinez.
I mean, that's part of why you don't go out, even if you can get babysitting, because when you've got a 1-year-old, you're going to get up in the middle of the night and you're going to have to be sober all that time. You're going to have to get up early.
And honestly, it's a lot of work to tell Martine what to do all day.
Yeah. Martine, get the baby. I'm hungover.
Guys, I just realized that I really want to be rich.
Yeah, man. Oh. I do like Martine in this movie, though.
Martine's awesome, yeah.
So when we get up to Hunter's room, the dog is barking at something we don't see in Allie's room. So we know something is up. And then we cut to Martine walking around holding Hunter and saging the house. And she's doing that little motion where she's blessing the house, but she's got the burning sage in her hand.
It's like a cross motion or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom does that in every new place I move into. She sages the fuck out of it. Yeah.
Really? Hey, and if that makes you feel better about where you live, go for it. Yeah. I don't really know a whole lot about it, but I do know that the dad does not like it. And also the baby is breathing that in. So if that were my child, I might not want her to do that with a baby in her arms too,
I don't know if that type of smoke does any damage. I have no idea. And I don't dislike the smell of sage. That's why I let my mom do it in all my new places. I'm just sure, let's whatever.
I don't think I would have fired her on the spot though.
Oh, he didn't. He waited until the next morning where she could pack up.
Well, no, but I mean, he fires her for it, which I think is a little, because she's going above and beyond in every other capacity.
Yeah, I mean, you do want your nanny to protect your house and your children from things, foreign, domestic, and spiritual. She's going above and beyond. Yeah.
And she gets along with everyone. It's hard to find a nanny that fits in with the family.
She's like a member of the family. At least the stepdaughter treats her like great. Yeah. They have a great relationship.
Yeah. And so what we see next is the dad is asking her to stop. And and then we see her with a suitcase and he's walking her out and says, I'm sorry, I just don't want this in my house, which, I mean, it's his house. And if that's not something he's comfortable with, then, I mean, it's his right to not want it. And he has mentioned he's asked her to stop before. So I don't think this was an isolated incident. I do hate that he fired her because I really like that character. And I think it would have helped him out a lot if she had been there.
Yeah, because when she leaves the house and stops doing her hocus pocus, that's when shit hits the fan.
Right. Well, and there would have been somebody there who could have seen some of this coming and known what to do to kind of keep it from getting out of control. But anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is another scene where Christy is recording Hunter trying to get him to say dada, and he's looking at something in the room, and she will say later, he can't focus on me. He was focused on something else in the room. And it's like it kept moving around or something. And that's creepy. He's trying to go hide in the closet. And this is when I noticed that this baby is doing a really great job, you know?
You mean acting?
Or just acting or just being a baby? Because I thought I was just doing a great job at both.
Yeah.
Well, both. But I mean, it's like I can tell that it's like distracted by something. Like whatever they did to get that performance, it's effective here, you know?
Yeah. See, what you don't know is that's actually not a baby. It's world-renowned baby actor Charles Von Rosdale.
Oh, Chuck?
And he's known for this. Yeah, he's known for being able to look exactly like a baby. But they had to scale everything down. It's like they had to film it like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
So you see, Jen, Todd knows him so well because Todd gave him acting lessons because no one acts like a baby better than Todd.
I saw that joke coming and I was powerless to stop it. He may or may not be my most prized student.
I do like the idea of like 3 times the size crib in the nursery just so like this normal sized person can pretend to be a baby.
It's all filmed
spending
Lord of the
all
Rings
this money
style.
on like the Lord of the Rings effects. Yeah.
What you don't see is how many apple boxes they went through because the entire cast had to stand on them the whole time.
And they kept like crashing through because they're apple boxes. Oh, it's almost like it wasn't a good choice. Anyways, so now Allie is painting her nails. Sorry. Okay, so now Allie is painting her nails, and Dad shows him his new not creepy at all night vision camera.
Yeah, I don't love the way they introduce the night vision thing. I honestly think the way Mika introduces it makes me more comfortable as an adult man. Because I don't want him to introduce that with his daughter.
His teenage daughter.
I didn't like
I did not get a creepy vibe. He like turns live. I was like, look how cool this night vision is. You look like a monster. Which
You
is
look like a possum. Yeah.
It's a dad thing to do.
Well, that's fair. I mean, I'll grant you that. Yeah, maybe my head's just not in the same place.
And then she holds up her toes with her nail polish and says, I'm a monster!
I'm a possum!
No, because she's like, get out of my room.
Yeah, which is a reaction you give your dad when they're just in your room showing off their night vision and like turning off all the lights on you. Yeah.
But this is also when we find out that Allie is mad because he fired Martine.
Yes.
And that she really likes it. And that she's kind of on board for this witch stuff, you know?
Or ghost stuff, right?
Yeah.
She wants it to be haunted. She's really excited the house might be haunted. And dude, I was like, this is so dumb. I hate the daughter. This is the worst. Like, no one wants their house to be haunted. And then she said, it might be Mom. And I was like, oh God, I'm so sad right now.
I know. Yeah. I did like that they put that in.
It was such an immediate turn. Like I was so mad that they were having this conversation, and then immediately my heart broke, and I was like, oh,
You're like, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
But like just the way they wrote that, or like that they planned that, it's just such an amazing way to show what this character's motivation is, because it could just be a teenage girl who's like really wants to play Bloody Mary or something, you know? But I really like that motivation a lot, and it did make me really sad.
It like answers the question of, were they divorced? Does she go live with her mom part of the year or whatever? But no, it's, you know, the saddest possible outcome. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it just makes you think, like, what would you do? You know, what would you try to contact some? Yeah.
From what I've learned in 108 episodes or whatever, absolutely don't try and contact them ever.
No.
That is
we're
always
gonna find
opening
that
up
out.
a can of worms. And you only end up contacting someone who's not the person you want to contact, and that person's trying to kill you now.
Exactly. And it's not a person, it's a demon.
Yeah, and listen, PB8 cannot help you.
So we're at night 8. And we see more of the pool cleaner thing. And
Gotta love that PB8.
So she hears a noise in his room, and she's up and she's like looking out the window. And then she keeps hearing noises. And then as she's looking out the window, we see the door open all the way by itself. And then she hears it. And she puts him down. And then she goes and looks at the window. And then we hear a big noise. And we find out the next day that it was a bird that flew into the window and died. Yeah.
It's
which is
horrible. Yeah.
creepy.
But that big noise scared the shit out of me.
It's scary when that happens.
So now Hunter is playing, and this is just a quick little thing, but the sister puts the handheld camera down right in front of the monitor, and we hear some like spooky noises coming from the monitor, and it lights up a little bit. All right, so now we got night 10. This is the night of the pan. And so as we're panning around the house.
Oh, and as we're panning around the house. I see what you did there, Jen.
That was unintentional, but I will allow
pun intentional. Pan intentional.
So the pan falls, and Christy goes to check it out, and she puts it back up. And then we see a light go out from outside, and it just gets darker. And then as she's there, the pan falls from right behind her again, and she runs up there.
But I mean, listen, I mean, the fact that it fell twice clearly shows that she just doesn't know how to hang up pans, right?
Exactly.
Right?
She just doesn't understand hooks. You know?
And listen, it was Martine that had done it every time before then. And unlike Candyman, she does not understand hooks. You're right, Jen.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we're being like facetious.
But yeah, no, yes, we are joking, Jen. Yeah, clearly.
And we'll find out why in a minute.
I do sort of like how they do ramp up all the scares from things that could be just happenstance, right?
Yes, could be explained away.
And eventually it gets to there's no fucking way this is not a haunting of a demon or something, right? And this is one of those things that could be just it happened. That kind of stuff does happen. And that's what the husband is saying. The next morning when she's telling him about it, he's saying, well, maybe you just didn't put it up right. The fact that it's up there twice or it fell twice, like that's probably indicative of the fact that you don't know how to hang things up, which is ridiculous, but that's how he explains it away.
He's like, I'll get it. We'll get another maid.
Well, and so, but they're also talking about why the pool cleaner keeps coming out of the pool every day. Just like, hey, shit's happening. And Allie and the sister, Christy, are starting to notice. But before that, Katie and Mika are over and they're playing in the pool. And so the sisters are talking. And they're talking about what happened when they were little. And like, did they used to do seances? And Katie does not want to talk about it. And Christy doesn't remember hardly anything about it. Oh, no, they're all talking about it in the pool.
Yeah, they all are. Yeah.
Right.
Who is the older sister? Is it Katie or Christine?
I think it's Katie, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, Katie, I think, is the older sister.
Okay, that would make sense. And I realize that the reason the demon is attacking the younger sister is because she's the one that had a son, right?
Right. Yeah. Allie's really into the idea of a seance, and Katie does not want to talk about it at all.
Yeah.
And so now they're watching footage of the pool cleaner just like BB-8ing itself out of the pool, which I guess is PB-8ing, which is not a function that normal PB-8s are capable
but this
of.
PB-8 is going above and beyond, wants to clean the area around the pool too. Yeah, it's going
the
above
pool
and beyond.
vestibule.
Yeah.
The vestipool.
I'm going to tell you right now, even if I lived in a haunted house and this pool cleaner kept coming out, I still would not chalk it up to the haunt. I'd be like, look, the pots are falling, the doors are slamming. The pool thing is just not related to this. It's just a pool cleaner.
Here's what you do. You put PB-8 in your kitchen and he cleans all the pots up. Solves two problems.
Well, if he's in your kitchen cleaning up, he's technically an RB-8, a Roomba B8. Yeah.
Right.
But it's not like the pool's not getting clean. It's gorgeous. I mean, like, it's not like the haunting is screwing up anything out there.
Mikey, no one's saying that PB-8's not doing his job. What we're saying is that it may also be haunted.
Yeah, he just wants a little me time. Okay.
It's not, what has happened? It's outside the pool. That's not scary at all. Like, it's literally not scary at all.
Well, except that it can't get out of the pool and somebody is getting it out of the pool.
But it shows it getting out of the pool later.
It actually looks like it gets out of the pool by itself, not that someone's pulling it out.
Like it became self-aware?
It literally just like drives up the side and over the lip and just starts vacuuming around, which I thought it was just him going above and beyond. I get it.
Yeah. Now, look, I have not seen all of Wall-E. But I do think this is part of that
some
plot.
of Wall-E, but not all of Wall-E. What kind of monster turns off Wall-E halfway through, Jen?
It's so good,
Turn it off.
Jen.
I just walked out of the room because it was.
What kind of monster walks out of the room during Wall-E? This is insane. Oh wow!
Oh my God, Wall-E, I think is my favorite Pixar
shamed.
film.
Right? Wow.
Isn't he a lamp?
I can't do this anymore. I'm walking out of the podcast.
Oh my God.
What kind of a monster walks out partway through?
No, Jen, this would be justified. This would be justified.
So let's see. This is when Allie and the dad are having the conversation about how they want, like, she's excited that it might be haunted because what if it's mom?
Yeah.
And so
and broke my heart.
But dad is kind of trying to explain it away that Christy is just real stressed out in her hormones, which I was like, no, she's
yeah. It sounded to me like he was like trying to say it was like postpartum depression-y, right?
Right.
And that's what was going on.
Yeah, and I mean, he doesn't come across as overly dismissive. I think he really just doesn't believe any of this. And he's like,
I think that's what it is. I think he just doesn't believe. He probably doesn't like practice any sort of religion. And he's very like, he just doesn't believe any of that kind of stuff exists, which believe me, I 100% get. And I think
whatever, you would be scared shitless if anything was happening.
I would. I mean, even with my beliefs on like religion and stuff like that, I would still be terrified in this situation and I would handle it very differently. But he's just the kind of person who doesn't necessarily believe leave. And so because of that, none of it matters, right? Like for
Right.
me, I would burn the house out and leave. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd pull what I call a gin where I burn my house down and then go buy a new one with the insurance money.
Works every time, guys.
Every time. They'll never catch on.
I know. Yeah, because we're going to burn this episode down too. So now we're at night 11, and I might have been getting these nights mixed up because
It's a family talking. It all looks the same. I
Yeah,
get
every
you.
night looks
Yeah.
the same, Jen. No one cares. You're doing great.
Well, and all we really see is Hunter is now looking at the window and like baby talking to something in the window that we
Yeah.
can't see. And the dog also sees it.
Yeah, the dog's like almost growling at it. It's not growling, but it's
Yeah.
like in a like an attack type posture.
And that's when I was like, this dog is amazing
Yeah,
because you
yeah.
can tell by his doggy language that he is like on guard, but he's not actually barking yet. So when he does bark, it escalates the situation.
Yeah.
I
This
would say
dog.
that the dog and the baby are the best actors in the movie.
I agree 100%. And they say never share the screen with a baby or an animal. That's like a real thing actors say.
I thought about that too, Todd.
Yeah. And now I know why. I didn't realize it was a cautionary tale about Paranormal Activity too, but it is.
I didn't realize there was a cautionary tale about this podcast and why I'm not famous yet.
Wait, am I the
Sharing the
dog or
pod
the
with a
baby?
baby and a dog.
Yeah, so you're the baby. I'm clearly the dog, Mikey.
Oh man.
I mean, they're not like super defined roles, so there's like
I'm
I'm kidding,
baby.
guys. So the next day, Dad says there's something they should see. And I thought for a minute, oh, he's finally taking this seriously.
Yeah.
But no,
He taught PB8 a new trick.
he turned him against everyone.
Yeah.
This is when PB8 becomes Darth Vader.
No.
You've clearly not seen any of the Star Wars movies.
I've seen them all. But I walked out halfway through and then just kept
Oh
going.
my God.
I can't.
So BB-8 jumps out in their face and scares everyone. And so now Christy is mad. And I kind of see where she's coming
I
from.
was mad because it scared me too. I was real
guys,
mad.
this
I
would
was
be
like,
me.
how
I'd be
dare
like-
PB8 turn on me like this?
This would be me as the
I'm
dad because I'd
telling
be
you.
like, I figured it out. I figured out how it's getting out of the pool every day. And I showed them. They're like, fuck you.
Yeah. They turned
Yeah.
on him immediatly.
Oh, yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
no, I figured
Yeah.
it out. We don't have to be scared. They're like, you're the worst.
Yeah. And he is, Mikey.
You're a monster, Mikey. But Christy's kind of mad. She's like, "You're not taking me seriously." And so he's like, "Oh, I just want my fun wife back, who's not doesn't have any problems. So we should go out on a date."
Another day. And this one without Martine. So they make the stepdaughter watch Hunter, which I don't think is crazy. She is old enough to babysit.
It's almost
She
like
is.
your marriage is happier when you have a live-in nanny maid.
As long as that nanny maid is not.
I want
young
my
and hot.
fun wife back. You're always doing laundry and taking care of the baby.
Yeah, and like being sad about things and having problems and being
Oh, my
annoyed by
God.
me. You don't like being shot in the face by our PB-8 pool toy.
It's a vacuum, Jen. How dare you belittle the
Oh,
work that
pardon
it
me.
does? It provides value and should be given respect for the value it provides.
I apologize. It's a pool worker,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
Getting shot in the face is how little Hunter.
We're not doing this again, Mikey.
Getting shot in the face at the pool is how little Hunter came about.
It actually says that the fireplace was how little
that's
baby
true.
Hunter
And also,
came about.
if she got
Yeah.
shot in the face, little Hunter would not have come about.
Right, because that's not where it goes. And I really love Christy's dress in this moment because it's backless and it's really cool. I was like, oh, I want that dress. But anyways, they're getting ready
So
and she's
Katie
going through all the
is
babysitting
Mikey's
stuff
crush,
for Allie.
and Christy is Jen's crush. This is what I'm learning right here.
I mean-
what color are Christy's eyes, Jen? They're up here,
Brown.
not where her back is backing.
I do like that dress though. And I like
I actually
her
think she
haircut.
has blue eyes.
Anyways, all right. So now Allie is reading, and we get a nice little jump scare from Boyfriend, who I was wondering how Todd was going to take that.
Okay, so he doesn't bang on the window immediately, or the glass door, I should say. He doesn't bang on it immediately, right? He sticks his head in, and that's what scared me. Is that this thing appeared and didn't make a sound. Once he actually banged on the glass door, I was like, oh, okay. But when he just orbed up on it, that's what scared me the most.
Yeah, and I actually didn't notice that. I think I might have been looking down at my outline or something, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
But I immediately hate him because he brought over a Ouija board.
Oh, did he bring that over? I thought that they had
I
it.
think she asked him. I think
don't
she
know.
asked him to bring that over.
Well, yeah,
I think
that would
so,
make
too.
sense because she wants to make contact with the ghost.
He probably
Yes.
stopped
In my
at
mind-
Target to buy that on the way over. Like, oh my God.
Don't ever date a guy who brings a Ouija board to your house.
He is just respecting her ask.
Yeah, she asked for that.
Also, don't ever ask a guy to bring a Ouija board
There
over to
you
your
go.
house.
That is a
because
better
Ouija
thing to
boards
say,
will
yeah.
get your house haunted. Yeah, Ouija boards never a good idea. Don't do it.
If you're asking a guy to come over, it doesn't matter what you ask him to go buy. He's going to go do it, and he's going to bring it over. Yeah.
He is.
Oh, you need a Ouija board and like a
Yep.
burned Bible? Yeah, I'll be right there.
Hang on one second. Let me burn my father's Bible real
Yeah, I'll be
quick.
right there. Yeah, come on. Your parents are out for the night? Yeah, I'll be right there. Let me get that Ouija board, burn that Bible.
Okay, so here's what bothers me a little bit. Did he know that cameras were installed? That's like my biggest question because he's like making these horrible jokes. You know, he's spelling out
Knowing
pussy
that her
and
dad
stuff.
can see it.
On the Ouija board. Does he know that this is on video?
Well, I would say yes, because as someone who gets recorded making horrible jokes often,
That's true.
Absolutely,
So the
Mikey.
dad told him he'll
Hell
edit
yeah.
it out.
she's trying to talk to the ghost and she's like, "What do you want?" And then he spells out the P word, which,
Yes.
but very slowly.
I wrote in my notes, gross, dump him. I don't like
She
that.
thought it was hilarious.
She did.
She did.
In comedy, the one thing that I've learned is you got to know your audience. And I think he
Right.
knew his audience because she thought it was funny.
She did think it was funny. So funny that she didn't take him seriously seconds later when he's saying, no, I'm not spelling ass this time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really not moving this thing.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I mean, he's spelling
And
out
what-
Hunter.
He is
Yeah.
spelling out Hunter, and they both are, but she's not really paying attention.
Well,
and
she takes her hands off of it at some point, and he's still spelling it out. Yeah.
And we don't ever like see them make that connection. They
No.
might, but what we do see is upstairs and where his name's written on the door, just so we remember
Yeah.
that it was Hunter, which I don't think we needed, but whatever.
This scene bothered me a little bit because she knows that there are cameras all over the house. So either the parents know he's coming over and are cool with it, like they're just fine with it, and they don't really do anything super inappropriate that we see anyway. So, you know, they might be
Right.
operating under the assumption that no matter where they are, they can see him, right? And they never go to her room where there isn't a camera. So
Counterpoint,
you know,
she altered the footage. That's why nothing is it just cuts right there.
yeah, she pulled a speed where it just loops the footage from them in the front room, and they went to her room, and ugh.
She does the joke and then like she just cuts the black right there and then it cuts to the pool to PB8.
to PB8, who's the vacuum distraction for their makeout sesh.
Yeah, he's trying to jump out the pool to stop them from having sex.
PB8's always being a bro.
All right, so later that night, Dog is still standing guard in Hunter's room, and Allie is now asleep on the couch, and she's just watching TV, and then it starts to static.
Oh, this scared the shit out of me, man.
Yeah, because it's like there's a really loud noise, and she startles awake, and everything goes back to
Well, then
normal,
also
like
a
the TV goes back to
shadow
normal.
surrounds her body. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like this, it goes to static, and it's this progressive like crescendo of sound and shadow covering her. And then as she
Yeah.
like wakes up, that's when everything goes away. The shadow goes away, the static goes away, and the TV comes back on. It's terrifying.
It was
I hated
scary.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. And so she like is hearing some noises from outside. Oh, and she walks up and she notices that the front door is open like 6 inches, which is so fucking creepy.
Yeah.
And so she goes upstairs and then she hears another big noise from outside. And she's this house is so big that she's able to look out the window above the giant doors.
Yeah.
And so she makes mistake number 1. She goes outside to look at the mysterious noise
Yeah.
that is, well, okay, maybe mistake number 2.
Yeah, I was like,
if
you don't think
mistake
she's
number
made
1
more
is not burning
mistakes
your
at
house
this
down.
point? Like, I think she's made a little more mistakes than just one.
No, I'm saying in the book of haunting. Like if you hear a noise outside your door,
I got
don't
you.
walk outside
Yeah,
that door.
that is
Yeah,
fair. Yeah.
Not her first
Now,
mistake in this
She
movie.
does think it's her mom though.
True.
Is it, Mikey?
She doesn't know.
It's definitely not her mom.
Also, it's creepy. But anyway, so she walks outside, and then the door from wind, apparently, a magic
God.
wind,
Yeah.
the door slams right behind her, locking her out.
Right.
And so she's trying to run around, and we see her do what the boyfriend did. She runs up to the side door, which kind of creeped me out a little bit, and she's trying to get in, but she's stuck outside. But the dog is on the case. So the dog goes up to Hunter's room. And this creeped me out because Hunter is asleep in the crib. and we
Oh,
start
man.
seeing, like in the first movie, where he's getting dragged across his crib.
which is
we're like,
so creepy.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
freaky.
Yeah.
And then it cuts away and it cuts back to him being dragged up the side of the crib,
Yeah.
PB8 style
Yeah.
in the pool.
Absolutely.
And then he's just out and he's walking around. He's just like tooling around with a cigarette, just chilling. You know, this is my house.
He goes
now.
downstairs to make a snack. Yeah.
Well, and then he goes to the basement door.
This is him letting the
And
demon in, and I fucking hated it.
No. As you see later on, every time he smokes a cigarette and is like really complaining about being in that house, he does a tally mark on the back of the basement door. He carves it in there.
We'll see later.
Yeah. That's
Yes,
what it
of
is. It's gotta be what
course,
it
of
is.
course. But one thing I did notice was none of that would have happened if they had fucking child locks on their doorknobs.
That is
And
true.
we see one on Katie's room, but how do you not have child locks on the door to the basement.
Yeah.
The most dangerous door. Like, little kid opens that thing in like a second.
They did have a child lock, Jen. Her name was Martine, and they fired her.
Well,
but there were
true.
child locks on other doors, but why the basement would be most important to lock?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he opens the basement door, smokes a smoke with the demon that lives down there now, and then we later see him back up in his crib standing. I don't think we see how he gets back in, but I assume he just got demoned back up there. And so then Christy and the dad get home, and they're looking for Allie. Hunter's crying. They can't find Allie. And then they finally see her. She walks in and she's like explaining what's happening. And she's like, I got locked out. I couldn't
freaking
see.
Out. Yeah. Which, I mean, I sort of understand.
Yeah.
Like, it is a very scary situation to come home to. And I thought when we see her go around to the glass door that she let her boyfriend through earlier, I honestly thought she was going to grab like a pool chair and like throw it through the glass or whatever. Because that's probably what I would have done. I would have broken a window or whatever to get back in immediately. But because she just left for like 2 hours. Like, what was she doing? Yeah.
I don't think she would have left the house. But I wonder if she was just on another part of the property and she just
Trying
hadn't
to get
gotten
in?
back to the door yet.
Yeah.
I understand how she didn't like run to them as soon as they were in the front yard or whatever.
How terrifying. Like, one, terrifying to get locked out of your house with nothing, probably not even shoes, in the middle of the night, but also knowing that there's a baby in the house that no one is watching.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, even if he can't get demon lifted out of the crib, you know?
Right.
But so now she is taking this seriously. And so we see her with her boyfriend on the laptop having the conversation that we had in the first movie. Like, this is probably not a ghost because it's persistent and it's probably a demon. And this is when they introduce the concept of making a deal with a demon for fame and fortune or wealth and something.
Allie like does some like research and figures out that Hunter is the first male baby to be born since their great grandmother got rich during the fucking Depression. Yeah.
Right. This is when we find out that the dad doesn't know how wind works because Allie shows him video and he's like, oh, it was a breeze coming from inside the house. But he's still not taking it seriously.
In the dad's defense, if you open the front door and the back door, sometimes they slam like that.
That is true.
But that is not what happened. But yeah, that is true.
So we're at night 17. Oh, and this part freaks me out. Allie has her camera on and she goes down. This is when I noticed that her door has a baby lock on it, but not the door to the fucking basement. So she goes down with her camera. We see a baby toy on the floor and it's turned on and running across the floor and it's making lots of noise. And then she goes into the other room. It like appears behind her running across the floor again on a trajectory that it could not have gotten to on its own.
No, and up
so
steps.
she runs
There
upstairs.
are 2 steps in between where she was and where that happened. And it's terrifying.
So we have this puzzle that has all the state capitals on it. And if you put the puzzle piece on it, it will say the state capital. Like if it says Tennessee, or you put Tennessee down, it'll say Nashville. And we lost the Oregon piece. And this thing is, I don't know, it's so sensitive, but sometimes I will walk into the dark playroom and it will just say Salem. And it freaks me out every
You need to
time.
burn that. Why is that still in your house? I'm never coming over.
don't know.
You have to remove that
That's
before
so
we
funny.
Stop quarantine. This is no.
It's sometimes it just appears in the brown chair in the pod loft, and I don't know how it got there.
No. I don't like this at all. This is not fun. I don't like this.
What if I just burn the chair down? Does that work?
Mikey, fun fact,
All
I
right.
failed my states and capitals test when I was in 4th grade.
And that's why I don't want to get rid of the puzzle, because I don't want my kids to go down that road, Mikey.
It is a dangerous road that starts with state capital.
We have so many states.
I can say them all in alphabetical order.
And you know what, Jen? That doesn't make you a nerd.
Oh.
No, it makes me awesome. So she's telling Christy about it the next day, and she's saying, it reminds me of what Martine was saying about the house, that she was trying to get rid of bad spirits.
Yeah.
And so Christy starts to talk about what happened when she was a kid, and we still don't know anything about this, except Christy is saying, I just remember feeling scared all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so now Christy and Katie are talking as they're playing with Hunter. This is when Katie starts to talk about it, and she says she just remembers Christy was scared all the time. She had panic attacks. She stopped speaking. Weird people came to the house, and it fed on your fear. So she says Christy just needs to stop talking about it, leave it alone, and then it'll go away. And she also says she's going to end up just like Mom. And I wonder, because Mikey, you've seen the third one.
Yeah, I
right?
have. I'll tell you the sequel I want when we get to the end.
Okay, just BB-8 and Katie swimming all day. PB-8.
That's my fantasy, not my sequel.
Who doesn't want PB8 and Katie swimming all day?
Me, I'm okay without that.
Yeah, you.
Okay,
She
so
wants a
now-
Christie.
Speaking of Christy, she is putting her down. She puts Hunter down for a nap, and now she's in the kitchen by herself. This, I think, may be the scariest part.
I think so. This movie, this part scared the shit out of me.
I literally, when she sits down and then the cabinets explode out of nowhere, she's like reading a magazine and then closes it like she senses something. And I literally made the joke, this isn't a magazine, because I was just like being silly and trying to break the tension for myself. And then I yelled so loud that my dogs were like, what the fuck? Because it's super scary. Like, it is super scary.
Yeah, I think it might be the scariest moment. And this is where I feel like it really picks up, and it is really scary towards the end from this point. And it's also when the demon's like, okay, I'm not fucking around anymore.
No, and this is definitely the moment where you're like, okay, nothing can explain this. This is definitely a haunting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Allie gets back from her walk, and Christy is clearly upset, and Allie's trying to figure out what's going on, and Christy's telling her the same thing. Everything's fine. We're not going to talk about it.
We can't talk
it's
about
fine.
it.
One of the things I think is interesting in this franchise is there's a lot of distrust and like kind of toxicity in relationships that like.
I think there's a lot of that in this movie because it's a very gender rolled kind of family. Because, like, I don't know if you noticed this, the dad never once gets up in the night to help with the baby.
There's one time when he puts him down, and I did notice it because the dad was actually helping with the child.
And I was like, this should have been more back and forth, I think.
Being a stay-at-home mom is fantastic, and if that's what you choose, that's great. But if you are a stay-at-home mom, that does not mean it is only your job to take care of the child, because that's a 24-hour-a-day job, and that means you work.
No, and then, like, I love kids, so I would definitely want to get up and help some, because I just would like to see the kid in the middle of the night.
Yeah. I mean, it's your kid.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, nobody wants to get up in the middle of the night, but you just create a system.
I would for baby snuggles.
Oh, baby snuggles.
A lot of times it's not baby snuggles. It's like a bunch of shit that you got to clean
Hey, man.
up.
Literal shit.
You clean up the shit, and then
they're
you get
cute,
your baby
though.
snuggles, and it's all worth it.
But it also is notable, like, we did not see the first year of this child's life, so he could have been getting up a lot more.
Oh,
like,
you
at
mean
this
when they
point,
had a live-in nanny?
Well, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
something leads me to believe that he was not getting up early to help with this baby. Yeah.
So now, this is when Allie is telling someone she's figured out that the great-grandmother must have made a deal, and Hunter is the first male on this side. And then we get night 19, and dog is running upstairs. This is when dad is actually putting Hunter down. But we see the dog being nervous, and we see fast forwarding camera. And I just love how, like, we're watching the dog asleep on the floor, like in fast motion. So we see its little twit. You know?
It was really cute. Yeah.
Yeah, it is sweet. And so now we see at 12:49, we see the basement door open.
Yeah.
And I love the way the door opens because we can't see what's coming out behind the door.
I did not love that,
open.
actually. I was the opposite. I really, really hated that, Jen. I hated everything about that thing that you just said you loved.
I mean, because it's effective, you know? Because we're imagining things that are behind this door. Okay, so the dog comes running downstairs to save the day, and we see...
I hated this.
Yeah. Although I choose to believe that Abby is fine because we hear a banging and then the barking stops.
Yeah.
And then everybody runs downstairs. Allie's got her camera, helpfully. But Abby is hurt, so the dad is going to take her to the vet with
and
Allie.
they find her not where she was dragged by something. They find her behind the sofa.
Yeah, behind the couch.
Yes. And so they're taking her to the vet, which I loved that they didn't, because they could have killed the dog right here. And I'm really
you
glad
can't.
That
is not a choice, Jen. That is...
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like that the
I'm
dog
glad that they did not make that choice.
Got attacked by a demon and dragged itself over because it's Team Couch.
Yeah, I think the dog made it clear where its favorite place was, and that was Team
Where
Couch.
his loyalties lie.
I do like that they immediately take the dog to like an emergency vet, right? They leave just the mom and Hunter. And when I say I love that they do that, I just love that they're that kind of responsible pet owner who would immediately take their dog to have it looked after, you know?
I would have to bring my wife and baby because I'd be like, I'm going to cry and I'm going to need you guys near me.
Yeah.
So we're leaving Christy alone in the house, which I was just watching her sitting on the stairs and I was like, holy shit, I would want to go to the vet too, just so I wouldn't have to be in the scary house by myself, you know? She's like calls every 10 minutes to try to check in and they're probably like, fuck no, we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So then she hears something and she goes into the kitchen and the pots are banging. and she turns the lights out. Why?
I don't know, man. Yeah, that's insane.
Well, and then Hunter's nightlight goes out. So Christy goes up to turn it back on and she checks on him. And this part freaked me out too and like broke my heart because she gets knocked down and dragged down the stairs.
Almost down the stairs. And she's like holding on to the banister, right? And then she gets back almost to where Hunter is. And then the whole thing repeats. And this time is when she gets dragged into the basement.
Yeah, like face first down the stairs too. And did you notice that Hunter was crying and then the mobile shaked like the ghost was trying to comfort
I noticed
him?
that.
I did
it
not
was
notice
super
that.
creepy. It was creepy.
And we see fast forwarding.
Yeah, it's like 2 hours she's down there, and then you see her just sort of walk out of the basement.
Yeah, but first you see the basement door open, and for like at least 20 seconds, we don't know what's going to come out, which is terrifying. And it's her. She's just walking really calmly.
Almost like she's possessed, Jen.
It is almost like she's possessed. I mean, I don't want to judge, but... and so then this is when we get a little Abby exposition where we find out they think it's a seizure, but they're keeping her because they're not exactly sure what's up.
I think that was about the dog.
And then it
That's
is
about the dog. So the dog's
because,
fine or not dead. I don't know, how bad the seizure was, but yeah.
And so Dad now comes down with Hunter and hands Hunter to Allie and saying, hey, something's up with Christy. You need to take Hunter. And I guess he has to go to work for a meeting or something.
Yeah.
Which he might have to. There might be something that he absolutely could not get out
maybe.
of.
I don't know. If
Anyways.
I saw my wife having like a pretty, let's take all the haunting stuff out of it. She's having like a postpartum real
Break.
bad.
She's like catatonic. She is literally like in a catatonic state.
I would definitely not go to work.
And I don't really necessarily think it makes him a terrible person. I think it just kind of makes him kind of a dick,
he's got his priorities a little mixed up. We need the new Whopper's having a hard time getting rolled out. We need you to come in.
Yeah.
He gets an emergency phone call. So he's like, chicken fries are back. Get in here.
Right.
Oh my God, McDonald's bringing back the McRib. We got to compete.
You can't miss McRib Day.
And listen, those types of meetings are important. If the McRib's coming back, Burger King is fucked.
Would I abandon my catatonic wife for a McRib? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's where Mikey draws the line. He would cancel all meetings, but if it's McRib Day, he's
priorities, Jen. Priorities.
Right. All right. So now Allie is starting to read and she hears a noise and she opens the door to the basement. There are lots of scratches on the door and just a little blood. And I like how there wasn't very much blood.
No.
It was mostly the scratching because I think that's just really ominous. And that they kind of look like letters. So now Allie is really freaked out and she goes up and she sees Christy in Hunter's room in like the rocker. And we see like a big bite mark on her leg, which is what we saw in the first movie on Katie. I think it was on her back. So we see her like kind of half through the door and then Allie turns away for a second and then she's gone, which is so creepy. And she goes in. Allie is trying to like hold Hunter and Christy comes in looking like a murderer and is like, don't pick him up. And then it cuts away because the dad gets home. And Allie is crying.
She's like freaking out, which I think is justified. Yeah.
I do too. Because we also see Hunter crying and screaming in his crib and Christy just staring out the window, ignoring him. So then Allie looks at the footage and makes the dad look. And now when you see her being dragged down the stairs by an invisible
There's
thing,
no denying that. Yeah.
Exactly. And I like that he didn't, like, now he does believe it.
Yeah, he wasn't like, it gets really windy if you open those back windows. So
She
this
just
doesn't
slipped,
prove anything, Allie. I don't know what you're trying to play at here.
And I also like that he calls Martine and he was like, she was right. She was trying to warn us. Like, I like that he has that.
I also
moment
liked when Allie was
humility.
like, let's just get Hunter and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, which is reasonable. Yeah.
It's probably what they should have done.
Yeah, Martine is now back.
Yeah, because he calls her. He like goes through his drawer and like picks out her phone number and he's like calling her and then it cuts to like her arriving.
But so she's doing something with olive oil and a cross and
I think she's getting the
Yes,
sage ready.
I think
that's
he
what
is
the
gonna
olive oil
sage
was
the
for,
house.
but I'm not 100% sure what that whole thing is.
I'm not either. And I think it's okay that we don't know. But they go upstairs and they're looking at Christy and she's just in the bed staring and doesn't notice that they're just like talking about
this
her
part
in the
too,
corner.
man.
Oh, it's
when he
so
like gets
freaky.
close to her and then she like goes from catatonic to cata-attackic, like she just attacks him. Like it scared the shit out of me, man.
Well, and before that happens, we see Allie and the dad talking about like, we can't do this.
Yes.
Like it's her sister. And Martine has said it has to be a blood relative.
Yeah.
And he's saying they'll never tell. It's my son and my wife, and I am going to make this decision. So what we're finding out they're going to do is they're going to transfer this to Katie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like that they do that, but I love it because it puts in context what happened in the first.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
absolutely.
cool
And
way to tie it together.
This is when she just attacks the fuck out of Dad.
Yeah, man.
And we don't really see it because the camera like is dropped and everything's dark because all of the lights in the house go out.
Yeah, you see PB8 stop vacuuming too in the pool 'cause everything goes dark.
Yeah, he powers
Yeah.
down. It's real
Yeah,
sad.
it was too scary for him.
Okay, so now they're down in the basement, and as they get down to the basement, we're seeing like the couch is flipping over, things are shaking, like the
Yeah.
house is shaking a lot. And I think it's because they're trying to draw this demon out of her.
Yeah.
But so he gets down into the basement. All the lights are out and they hear Hunter. And so he drops the camera. And I love how this happens because we see Hunter upside down.
Yeah.
And it's so
It
creepy.
is very
and this
creepy.
reminded me a lot of Blair Witch Project.
It reminded me of Blair Witch Project too. Yeah, I thought the same thing, and I hated it because the whole time you see Hunter, you're like, I mean, they just drew out this demon, or what you.
I thought this was like one of the scariest parts of the movie.
Yeah, like I thought the demon might have grabbed Hunter or something. So you're like just running wild and what could happen. I hated it.
Exactly. And it's great. I also love that we don't have very much of this shaky camera.
Yeah.
We can't tell what the fuck is going on because if it were dragging on too long, I think that's when you start to get motion sickness.
It also shows Katie too, right?
I think that's Christy.
Oh, I mean, Christy. That's Christy. I mean, it shows Christy. Yeah.
Yeah. We do
so
see.
we do see Christy with the sharp teeth. You're right, Mikey.
But it's just a lot of chaos. And then we see like marble. So we see Christy with the sharp teeth, and then he like puts the cross on her
Yeah.
or
Yes.
something. And the power of cross compels her to like shake all of the marbles on the
She's
floor.
like, he's like, I'm gonna make you crisscross.
Oh my God. I love it though. I mean, it works. It works, Mikey.
But so the marbles are on the floor, and then Hunter walks by just chilling. And then I guess it worked because all the lights come back
Yeah.
on and everything is still, and he puts Christy in bed.
And everything
Yeah.
presumably goes back to normal because it cuts to like what is 3 weeks later, and then you see Christy and Katie talking, right?
Well, first we see him burning the corners of this picture.
That's right. Sorry. Yeah. I
Yes.
wonder why he does that. That doesn't make any sense to me.
To target the relative.
Oh, is that why? Okay.
Yeah.
They don't really explain it, but you do see that happen.
They don't.
I wish it would have showed
Yeah.
him put the picture in her attic.
But I just love how they tied all of this together because now we see it's 3 weeks later, and Katie is over there holding Hunter and asking how things are going, and apparently everything's fine for Christy, but now something's up with Katie's house. I wonder why. And she's saying it's so bad that she's actually told Mika about it.
Yeah.
And then she leaves. And I also love how they do this because she drives away and then we see the scene from the first movie.
Yeah.
So we know it just puts it all into the time
Yeah, it like
frame
locks in the
perspective.
timeline. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they nailed that.
Me too.
I was really impressed with that. Okay. And so we find out helpfully that Miko was killed on October 8th. And then it says October 9th. So
Yeah, I honestly thought
Right.
that was going to be the end of the movie when she drove away and we saw the first scene from the first movie, or maybe not the first scene, but that scene
Really?
from the first movie, right? But no, we get a whole like last 10 minutes here.
yeah. And this is where it becomes a sequel rather than a
Right.
prequel because this is happening after the events of the first movie. And so we see Dad asleep on the couch. Hunter is crying and Christy goes to get him. And then I love how this
I
plays out.
hated it
We,
when she just appears
I
behind
imagine,
him
yeah.
by the stairs.
Yeah,
oh,
like
I
with the
hated
blood,
it.
The blood
on
from the
her
first
as
movie.
we saw her.
Yeah, oh, it's rough, man.
In those cute pajamas.
Covered in blood, Mikey. What is it that does it for you about Kate? I need to know what specifically you enjoy here.
I just think she's like real nice.
I think she's cute.
Yeah, she's not bad.
And she can make you some jewelry.
Yeah.
One thing I love that the second movie kind of introduces, and the third one does really well, is because there are more than one camera and because it's like panning through on a schedule. Like we see her standing there and then it pans to another part of the house. And so we don't see what's happening. All
Right.
we see is when it pans back, she's gone.
Yeah.
And so we don't know where the fuck she is. But then we see that she's right behind the dad and she has broken his neck.
Like lifts him up by his chin and like breaks his neck. It's rough.
Well, and so then we cut back to Christy holding Hunter and we hear her walking up the
Sort of
stairs.
like we did at the
don't
end of the
see
first
it.
one.
Yes, and then she walks in and I just imagine how terrifying this would be for Christy to see your sister like
Covered
that.
in blood. Yeah.
Running towards you and then like throwing you against the window. And it's very similar to what happened with Mika
Yeah.
at the end of the first one, except she's holding Hunter.
Yeah.
And then she walks away. And then we get text on the screen that said Allie returned from a school field trip and found the bodies. So, and that also confirms that Christy is dead
Yeah.
too. and that Katie and Hunter are still missing.
And that's the movie.
Roll
movie.
credits. Let me talk about what sequel I want to see from this franchise.
All right,
All
so what do you
right.
want to see, Mikey?
I either want to see Grown Up Allie hunting down Katie and Hunter.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Ooh, she
Yeah,
has become the
absolutely.
Or like
hunter.
Hunter's a possessed demon who's like a serial killer and she's hunting him.
So, having seen the movie and having talked about it, what do you guys think about it now? Do you think it holds up?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think
Loved it.
Paranormal Activity holds up as a franchise pretty well.
I think so too.
I'll say I think it's more scary than the first one. And I thought the first one was very scary.
I think so, too.
I did not like either of these from it scared the shit out of me standpoint, and I hate being scared. I don't think they're bad movies.
Yeah.
I just want to never, ever have to watch one again.
Well, I think what makes it scarier is just how vulnerable the kid is, and watching the haunting of the kid is just terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's do some box office.
Box office.
What do you guys think the budget for Paranormal Activity 2 was?
I think it was a few million. I think it was like 5 million.
I'm going to say 1 because I don't know how much you would actually need for this.
I think they got picked up by a big studio, though.
Well, yeah, this is a
Yeah.
Blumhouse. I'm going to say 1 million because I don't think this is a very expensive movie.
Katie got her payout.
It is the very definition of a single location movie, though, right? So the
Yep.
budget for this was $3 million. So right between what you guys had said. And what do you guys think it made in its opening weekend?
Ooh,
80.
it was big. It was a big film. I'm gonna say 50.
Okay. It was a big, big hit. It was number one the weekend it came out, but it made $40 million. And that's just its opening weekend. That's very, very respectable, right?
Well, yeah, for a $3 million movie.
Yeah, it's very, very good. So, like I said, the weekend it came out, it was number one. It came out October 22nd, 2010. So its competition was Jackass, Red, The Social Network. It was the first movie that weekend it came out. The next closest one was Jackass at $21 million.
Also, it's
So
close
it
to
did-
Halloween.
Yeah, absolutely. And it did really, really well for a $3 million budget. What do you guys think it made total worldwide box office in its theatrical run?
120.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like 110.
Okay. It made $177 million.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a hit, and it made another
Yeah.
$2 million in domestic DVD and Blu-ray sales. So it made a lot of money. Out of the franchise of Paranormal Activity, it was number 3 on the list of how much money it made.
What are the first two?
Okay, so Paranormal Activity 3 made the most. Paranormal Activity made the next most, was second, and then Paranormal Activity 2 was the third. Yeah, but it did really well. Like $3 million investment making $177 million is insane. It's so good. But that's box office. So Jen, do you have some fun facts for us?
I do have some fun facts, although I don't have as many as I thought I was going to have. And I think part of that is because this one is not talked about nearly as much as the third one, because the third one is just so like creative and unique and awesome.
It's insane to me that you would say words like creative, unique, and awesome with a Paranormal Activity type of movie. Because it doesn't seem like any of those things are relevant to the creators of the first two movies, but all they're really trying to do is get you to the next jump scare.
This movie rests on surveillance footage.
Yeah.
And think about the technology that was available in the 80s. And that's what it is that makes it creative. Like I don't want to spoil, but they take a camera on an oscillating fan. And so the camera just oscillates through
I'm
the
going to
scene.
hate the third movie.
Yeah, you're gonna hate the third movie.
God.
Yeah.
It's
all right, well, Jen, let's
amazing.
get to your fun facts because I don't want to hear
Anyways.
any more of that.
All that to say, that's probably why there's not as many fun facts about the second one.
Fair enough.
Because they're really not doing anything that different. They're just raising the stakes a lot from the first movie.
Right.
Okay, so this was directed by Todd Williams. It was supposed to be directed by a guy named Kevin Grutert.
You said that
don't know
right.
how to say
100%.
that. Grutert,
Yeah.
yes. So he was originally supposed to direct, but in a cruel twist of fate, he had a clause in his contract that allowed the producers to force him out of this movie and force him to direct Saw, the final chapter, which I think was like the 5th Saw or something.
Oh, wow. So he didn't direct this smash hit and directed Saw 5 or whatever.
Yes.
Although I don't know if that one did really well. I have no idea, but
I mean, it's a Saw, so it probably did okay.
Fair enough.
You know?
But he wanted
Yeah.
to do this one.
Yeah, he did. Well, he was originally supposed to, and he wanted to. Although, I mean, you could argue, would it have been as good with a different director? You know, I don't know how much the director actually played a part in it.
Yeah.
I do know that it was totally unscripted and improvised. So, I mean, the directing could have had a big part in it.
yeah.
Okay, so it was written by 3 people: Michael R. Perry.
This movie was
Tom-
written?
Well, I mean, it was plotted out.
Okay, I was like, you just said it wasn't scripted. Like,
right, yeah. Well, I mean, they would have had, I'm sure they had to give them the details
Right.
of like the childhood
you got to
thing
hit
and all
these
that
beats.
stuff.
Right. Yeah,
right,
that makes
yeah.
sense.
Which is how like most found footage is,
Okay.
you know, and then you improvise the details of it,
Yeah.
you know.
It's also how the
but-
TV show The League was shot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But so it was written by Michael R. Perry, Tom Pabst, and Christopher Landon. And the reason I brought that up is because Christopher Landon directed both Happy Death Day movies.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
So there was an alternate ending
Really?
that wasn't ever shot. Yeah, where Katie kills Hunter.
Oh,
Which
Oh,
yeah.
man, I'm glad that they didn't show that.
so
Oh,
terrible.
Me
man.
too. And I mean, I think that's exactly why they didn't do it. And
Yeah,
I think it was
good.
probably just like a scripted ending because that's how the first one ends. She just kills Mika, you know? And okay, my last fun fact, and I told you there's not a whole lot about this movie.
That's fine,
but
baby.
listeners, if you have some and you want to share some in the Facebook group, we would love that.
yeah.
Okay, so there are sequels. The third one is technically a prequel because it takes place all in the 80s. So because this one is mostly a prequel to the first one, because there's really only 10 minutes that happens after the event. So the
Right.
fourth one is actually the first true sequel. And I can't remember. I don't know if this is like a neighbor or something. I think it's the house that's like across the street from Christy's house or something. I don't remember.
Interesting.
But I did like the fourth one. I thought it was good. And then I haven't seen any after that. But
Fair
there's
enough.
the marked ones and then there's Ghost Dimension. And I think those really start expanding the world a lot in ways that I don't know if like hold up as much
I haven't
as the
seen
other
those
ones.
two either.
So, I mean, I can't say. They might be great. There's also one called Tokyo Night, and I don't think that is an English sequel. I think that was made. I saw Japan, but I'm not sure. But I don't think it was released in the U.S., and I don't think it was released in English either. So if you know
Are
anything.
you sure you're not thinking of Tokyo Drift? That's a different franchise.
Oh,
no,
man,
I
that's
double checked.
the best Fast and the Furious movie. Come at me.
And those are my fun facts.
Well, thank you for your fun facts, Jen.
You're very welcome.
All right, well, let's do the scary scale.
Hey, listeners. Our scary scale is a scale we use to rank how scary we thought the movie was. It's not a ranking of the quality of the film. It's how scared we are today or last night when we watched it. Our 1 example is Ghostbusters. Our 10 example is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All right, Todd, what you got?
I'm going to give it a 7.
7.
Yeah,
All right,
this one
nice. Not
really
surprising.
scared me.
Nice.
Yeah, we slept with the lights on last night. Like I could not, and much to the annoyance of my girlfriend who hates the lights on. But I was
Sorry,
super
Natalie.
terrified. And Natalie loves me, so she let me sleep with the lights on.
Oh,
But I super scared. Hated this movie because it was so scary. And when I say I
Mikey?
hated this movie, I don't think it's a bad movie. It's super scary, and I can't handle
right.
it. Yeah.
Mikey?
I think I'm going to give it a 3.
All right.
I mean, that's the first non-one in a while. That's good. Yeah.
That's true. I think I'm going to give it a 6. A lot of that is because of scares. And like as I was watching it, I was getting scared because
Yeah,
of
it's
noises I was
scary.
hearing. But also there's that like child element, like baby element in there too of a child in danger, which is always something that gets me. All right. And that's scary scale.
All right. So this week, you guys made me watch Paranormal Activity 2. What are you guys making me watch next week?
Well, Todd, we're not making you watch anything next week because it is
listener
a listener
request?
request. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yay! Are they going easy on me?
Not really.
Ugh.
But they are throwing you a little John Gallagher Jr. And we love him.
I do love JGJ.
That's right. Even though it's hard to say. But so our
Did you mean to rhyme that, Jen, or was it just happenstance?
it's just happenstance. It was
Oh,
a happy
I loved
coincidence. We actually haven't said what the movie is yet. So our theme was claustrophobic horror, and you guys picked 10 Cloverfield Lane. So that is what we're watching. And no, we have not watched the first Cloverfield, but because this is not actually a sequel, I think it exists in the universe. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
They say all the Cloverfield movies are connected, but it's one of those like you have to read the comic book and do all this like pause it at a certain time to catch the
I'm not going to do that.
right.
Yeah.
So don't even worry
Okay,
about
cool.
it. Mhm.
All right, cool.
Oh,
cool,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. This can stand on its own, and it's still a totally fine
Okay.
movie.
All right, guys, we'll watch 10 Cloverfield Lane for next week. While Mikey pulls up a review, let me explain to you how you can have your review read by Mikey on the podcast. And that is simply by going to Apple iTunes and leaving a 5-star review with text so that Mikey has something to read. And if you want to leave like a funny accent for him to read it in, that'd be a lot of fun. Any of that stuff is always welcome. So please leave us a 5-star review and we'll have Mikey read it. Mikey, you got one for us?
Yeah, I got one. It says Devin Wilson.
Okay.
Hey, Devin.
Says written in an Australian accent.
Oh.
Sorry, Mikey.
Okay.
You're welcome, Todd. Ugh.
Thank you, sir.
All right, this review is titled "My New Digital Best Friends." All right, good day. All right, let me get into the character here.
Oh my God.
I'm not sure that's okay, but you know, do your best, man.
Yeah.
You got this.
This is a fantastic show.
Nailed it. Fucking out of the gate, nailed it. I'm on board. Let's do it.
I found the beautiful trio of the kind and thoughtful Mikey,
Oh, jeez.
the incredible, insightful, and intelligent Gene,
Oh,
Gene.
thanks.
and the hilarious and very easily scared Todd,
Oh,
that's
thank
true.
you. Thank you.
aka the hard version.
Right. Yeah.
While searching for a podcast talking about the remake of Stephen King's Pet Sematary.
I'm not. This is getting less and less Australian and more in just like you spitting out words.
Yelling.
But I'm on
I was
board.
incredibly happy to find my new favorite podcast. The horror version gives me the feeling of watching some of my favorite movies with my best friends.
Oh.
Oh.
I love you guys, and keep up the great work.
Oh, thank you so much,
5
Devin
stars.
Wilson, for
Yes,
that
thank you.
awesome review. Thank you so much, guys.
I would just like to go on record as apologizing to the country of Africa or Australia.
Just everybody. Just everybody.
everybody,
Jen.
everybody,
Just
yeah.
everyone involved in the making of that review. I apologize.
Yeah.
Mikey fact, my Australian accent is just a higher pitched English accent.
I think
yeah,
I picked
we
up
just
on
heard
that,
evidence.
All right, guys. If you want to have your review read, leave us a 5-star review. As
Yeah.
always, we are a member of the Consequence Podcast Network, which means that you should check out all of their awesome shows like Halloweenies, This Must Be the Gig, The Losers Club, Kyle Meredith With, The Opus, The Assembly.
The Fifth Dimension.
Yeah, and The Fifth
Ghost
Dimension, yeah.
Echoes. Yeah.
Ghost
there are a
Echoes,
lot
that's
of really
right.
cool
Yeah.
shows.
Check them out, guys. They're great. And
Yeah,
also check
that's
out their
really cool.
website, Consequence of Sound, for all the awesome pop culture, movie, and music reviews. It's great, guys. You don't want to miss out on all that
It is.
awesome content that they've been slinging. But also, if you want to check out our shit, go to horrorvirgin.com where you can see Jen's blog and links to the merch store. You can also follow us on social at Horror Virgin. If you want to follow us individually, Jen is at Jen with 2 N's for Ratu.
Yeah.
Mikey is at mrandolph24, and I am at Todd J. Awesome. If you want to help financially support the show, please do by going to patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where you can get a lot of great levels and a lot of great things, including bonus episodes, exclusive video content, all that stuff, or listener requests, which every level can vote and suggest for. And that's how we came up with the movie that we're doing next week. And we do that, as it might sound, monthly, because it's monthly listener requests, right? But if you can't financially support the show, but you want your daily free content, hop over to Facebook and get that daily free content in our Facebook group. It's an awesome, quickly growing community of awesome, welcoming, friendly people.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, that's going to be it for us. I just heard this weird noise in the basement and I'm going to go check it out with my night vision camera, even though it's during the day. But you know, what could go wrong?
Everything, Jen. Everything could go wrong.
Thanks for joining us for this awesome movie. I'm Jen.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm your Horror Virgin Todd, guys.
Have an amazing week.
Bye.
I'm really close to having more Instagram followers than I follow. I'm pretty excited about it.
Oh,
Aw.
you're crossing that threshold, Mikey.
Yeah,
It's quite a
I'm
turning
like
point.
I'm like within 5, I think.
Oh, everyone go follow Mikey right now.
If the girls I ghosted didn't unfollow me, I think I would have had it by now.
You would
Wow.
have. You ruined it by being a bad person.
Consequence Podcast Network.